watching Businessworld Live. I'm Danny Laurel. It's the first day of October. That means it's the first day of the fourth quarter of 2021. Let's go straight to our top story. The pilot implementation of the alert level system is extended in Metro Manila. That's until October 15th. The interagency task force also approved the recommendation to expand by an additional 10% the allowable indoor dining, in-person religious services, and personal care services under Alert Level 4 for fully vaccinated individuals. Gyms and fitness studios will also be allowed to reopen at a limited 20% capacity, provided that all gym workers and members are also fully vaccinated. Now, the Banco Central says inflation likely breached their target in September. That's coming in between 4.8% to 5.6%. You can see on your screens here, if realized, the higher end of that estimate would be the highest inflation in about 3 years, or after the 6% print logged in November of 2018. But even the lower end of the range is already beyond the 2 to 4% goal of the BSP this year. Recall that we are already coming off of a 4.9% inflation rate in August as food prices rose sharply due to recent typhoons. Now, for this month, BSP Governor Ben Diokno attributed the projected jump in inflation to the rising prices of fuel, utilities, and food. But BSP Deputy Governor Francisco Daquila said inflation will likely taper off and come in within the BSP's target in November. Just last week, the Bangko Sentral kept the key policy rate at a record low of 2% to support economic recovery. That's despite higher inflation expectations. Okay, guys, of course, we are kicking off October on a high note. Take a look at my terminal here earlier this morning at 9:30 a.m. sharp, and we're going to try and show you some photos of that virtual bell ringing that happened, of course, celebrating the listing of Mega World's REIT, that is M-REIT. It did happen, all at the same time. So there were people in the Philippine Stock Exchange floor. There were people in Iloilo Business Park, in Eastwood, and McKinley Hill ringing that bell. And you can see the price here at 16 pesos and 28 centavos. That is already up by 18 centavos, of course. And even its pre-IPO price was actually 16 pesos and 70 centavos, so slightly higher than what it is listing right now. You can also see that it's been moving quite a bit since, of course, the 16 pesos and 10 centavos share price, which was, however, a discount compared to the 22 pesos they had initially targeted. And even before trading, I just want to take a quick peek at Mega World itself, the parent company. It's actually trading flattish right now at 2 pesos and 85 centavos. Now here, of course, to talk to us about this exciting new listing, we have with us Mike Enriquez, CIO of Sun Life Financial. Good morning, Mike, and welcome.
Good morning, Dan.
Mike, how excited are you about this listing? Of course, some activity in the market's always welcome, and it does seem to be moving higher than the IPO price of 16 pesos and 10 centavos. But nevertheless, this is already a discount from what they were hoping to raise. But can you say that it's being accepted in a positive way?
Well, definitely this MegaWorld REIT has been widely anticipated, given that MegaWorld has one of those large portfolio of assets that are REITable, so to speak. So it is really one of those that we are looking forward to. And again, I think it was a good move by the company to bring down the price a bit, just to leave something on the table for investors to chew. So that's why I think that the success of this definitely depends on that IPO price that was lowered. And given that IPO price, the yield we estimate is closer to 6%. So definitely that's something to look forward to from investors who are looking at diversifying their portfolios from just equities or fixed income. Now you have REITs that gives you a decent yield plus some potential for upside.
Mike, is this excitement for the REITs because exactly of that point you mentioned, diversification of our portfolio. So it's time to not only look at the equity space or just fixed income, but something in between here. Or can you say that markets are looking forward to a rebound, particularly in commercial real estate? They had mentioned, Mega World in particular, that their offices saw good recovery in demand since the second quarter. Is this something that investors are taking into account? Are you much more hopeful now of the commercial real estate pipeline?
Well, why we are very positive on this mega world REIT is, for one, the assets or the portfolio inside the REIT are office buildings, and all of these office buildings, if you look at the lease contracts, they're all 100% leased out, and these are all BPOs, which we all recognize that in spite of the pandemic, BPOs continue to expand. And the other thing that we like about this REIT by Megaworld is it is not only concentrated here in Metro Manila. There's
Okay.
also that portfolio in Iloilo, and they also have other developments that in the future they can add on to this. So clearly, the office space or the commercial side of real estate on the office continues to perform strongly, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mike, you can compare them to the other REITs at this point. Are you happy with the performance of the REITs in general? And are you seeing some, liquidity flight or switching that is going on? Or as you mentioned, you can take these different REITs within a portfolio and actually be diversified in some way.
I think right now, most of the investors are allocating a certain portion of their portfolio into REITs in general. Because right now we already have a number of REITs started with Ayala, and now we can diversify in other REITs. Ayala is more on the commercial, retail, and office. Now, the other ones would be more on the office spaces as well. And now, Mega World would provide a different offering that not only office spaces, but office spaces not only here in Metro Manila, but even in the provinces. So, for an asset allocator, it is something that you can look forward to, especially right now when you would like to minimize the volatility of your portfolio, at the same time be able to get some decent yield. So it's an alternative for your bonds, given that there's this huge expectation that interest rates might start to move higher. So definitely REITs might be can shield you from this as opposed to holding on to direct bonds.
What about comparing it to investing in the parent company, Mega World, and how these two stocks will be related? Will they be positively correlated, or will you be less? You will be a bit more risk averse, and then put it into this MREIT. What are you seeing here with regard to the parent company? They're also, of course, going to be using the funding to
Mhm.
fund some projects of the parent.
Yeah, so for one, the REIT benefits the parent because, as what you mentioned, it's a source for funding. And then with the parent is a bit mixed in terms of office, housing development, and retail or malls. Right now, the last two, malls and development residential development, is still not or is slowing down as opposed to the office. So I think right now the concentration or the attention is really more on which among those portfolios would benefit or will continue to be quite resilient in the next few months. So it would give investors now a choice between going into a diversified portfolio for your parent or going to the REIT and going direct and having a certain yield. So it complements and it depends on the cycle. For example, if we start to look at the reopening story, and I think we're all looking at that, and we're all hopeful for the reopening story by next year. So again, there might be a shift again to the parent as the retail space and the residential space will start to benefit again.
Final question on this IPO, Mike. You said that it was good that they had lowered the price to 16 pesos and 10 centavos. what is your target price here? Up to how are you looking at this performing, and not just today but in the short term? What do you advise investors when to enter?
Based on our own internal research, our fair value is at around 17 pesos for
Okay.
right now. And of course, there's a lot of upside potential to that as the company starts injecting more assets in the portfolio down the road. But in the near term, we're looking at a fair value of about 17.
Okay, so still some room to run here if you do want to
Yeah.
enter in the next few minutes today. Okay, Mike, let's talk about other fundraisings possibly going on in the next couple of weeks. You've got All Day that slated, or
Mhm.
they have expressed interest to list. They've been approved already by the SEC. Are you, optimistic about this? And is this going to be another sort of Mary Mart story, an exciting stock, or is this much more linked to the movement of All Home and the other Villar portfolio of stocks?
I think the for one, it's part of their plan to um, list all their companies. I think it unlocks a lot of value for the Villar Group through, on listing all day marts. Definitely, it's something that would benefit them, and at the same time, it's really a match for the reopening story as well. And over the last few months, I think there's a lot of focus on consumer
Mm-hmm.
consumer related stocks, especially the non-discretionary consumer, which are groceries and food marts.
Okay, so still a real consumer story here that might come into play. Let's go to our index and how we're
Mhm.
opening today. Are up by 0.15%, inching towards those 7,000 levels. Almost there. You're breaking through, and then wala na naman. But tell us, extension of the pilot level alert system, 2 more weeks in level 4. You've also got the COC happening at this moment. What's your outlook for the fourth quarter of this year?
Well, we're on the camp on the more optimistic side, and ever since we've been consistent that we are one of the more optimistic houses here, that the Philippines will eventually recover. I think over the last few months, in spite of the hard lockdown, it seems that the equity market or the financial market has already decoupled, or we can say accepted the fact that
Okay.
the government will continue its quarantine measures, but nevertheless, the underlying economy continues to recover.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, even if there's an extension up to mid October, but the government has been loosening some of the provisions. Right now, they're gonna open gyms. They're gonna increase the allowed count for restaurants. So again, these are signs that the government is also recognizing the fact that um, we need to open, given that the examples in other countries where it's already normal.
Mm-hmm.
So we're hoping to see that, in spite of the fact that there's Delta prevailing here, but the vaccination rate has also been climbing. So I think that's something that we need to consider as well.
Mike, year-end target.
Year end target, we're looking at about 7,200 for this year, but we're looking at 7,900 for 2022.
Okay, so still a lot of room to run if you look at it that way, and of course you're at the optimistic side. Thank you so much, Mike Enriquez, CIO of Sun Life Financial.
Thank you.
Checking in on our biggest headlines, today is the first day of the filing of certificates of candidacy for the 2022 polls, and Senator Manny Pacquiao is the first presidential aspirant to file his COC. Pacquiao's running mate is Buhay House Deputy Speaker and former Manila City Mayor Lito Atienza. Just minutes before the filing of the Pacquiao Atienza tandem, House Deputy Speaker Lauren Legarda also filed her COC in a bid to return to the Senate. Security remains tight at the Harbor Garden tent of the Sofitel Hotel in Pasay City, where the COC filing is held. PNP officers are manning the perimeter while COMELEC security personnel are in charge inside the tent. Health protocols are strictly observed. A no ID, no entry policy is also enforced to make sure that only those accredited by the Commission are inside the filing area. And unlike previous COC filings, the Commission has limited the number of companions of candidates allowed inside. Now, for those filing for the position of party list representative, only one companion is allowed. Two companions are permitted for those filing for senatorial positions, and president and vice presidential candidates are allowed to bring three companions with them. And that's a first look into the business day. Today is Friday, October 1st, 2021. Catch Business World Live for the market close. It's at 3:15 p.m. today. I'm Danny Laurel. Mask on, wash hands, stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.